have to be your biggest fan. And when things are really tough and they're really rough and nothing's working, but there's something inside of you that says, I just have to follow that. Because you don't know who you're going to be, who you're going to be, who you're going to be.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? How are you guys doing? My name is Matt LeGrand, and I make triathlon content for YouTube here. And one of the things that I'm doing right now is just going through this video series where I take 5 triathlon coaches and I just ask them a series of questions. But I also want to ask you guys the same questions. And the question I have for you this week is a real fun one, and that is, if you could go back and coach yourself through your first triathlon, what kind of stuff would you tell yourself? But let's start off by asking Dave Erickson from Endurance Hour that exact same question. Dave, how would you coach yourself?
My first triathlon was actually an indoor triathlon, and I know the date because we used to have news clippings. In April 18th, 1998, I was in Fayetteville, Arkansas at one of my TV jobs when I first started out, and there was a flyer that said indoor triathlon. And I didn't know about it. I said, I'll try it. I didn't know how to swim. And I still have the pamphlet today. It was a Swimming 101 insert as part of a magazine, I think. And I learned how to swim by reading that. And
oh, that's cool.
I did go to a couple of master classes, but I just didn't get it back then because I was 98. I was 25, I guess. So I was a late bloomer in the sport. And I really wish I would have started earlier. I really wish I would have started triathlon so much earlier, not as an adult. And I just went too hard, and I didn't know anything about hydration or nutrition. So this triathlon was a 200-yard swim indoors, obviously, and then we ran from inside the athletic club to the upstairs stationary bikes, 5-mile bike, and then we did a 2-mile run on this elevated track around the basketball court. So I did it, and it took like 33 minutes approximately. I was so pumped and excited about doing it. I asked if I could do it again. And they said sure. And so I increased my time. I dropped like 3 minutes because now I know what to expect. But I had the biggest headache afterwards because I had no nutrition. I didn't know anything about water for something like that, for the effort I was going. But it was such a thrill that I was hooked. So I would probably recoach myself on taking it easy. I was winded at probably the 100-yard mark of the 200-yard swim because I went out too hard. It was so crazy. Looking back, I was a terrible swimmer. But it was so much fun that I was hooked from that point on.
Yeah, it's interesting. The whole adult onset swimmer thing is just, it's a unique problem. I mean, you see the kids that grow up swimming and they're almost like a different breed. I think it takes a lot of work. So, it's interesting that you went through that so you can kind of, help coach others kind of through that process just with your own personal experience. So I think it helps.
And with my wife, she got into triathlon because of our dating, and she wanted to do what I was doing and, be in our circle because I'm out training. This is before we got serious. Like, wait, what are you doing this weekend? Well, I got a big training block to do. So she started swimming and she started getting coaching. And I would tell someone as an adult the importance of coaching and understanding form and not speed. Whereas people get out there and they just go too hard. And she learned this, and I watched her, and her form, I think, technically is probably a little bit better than mine. But I'm a different athlete breed, I guess, maybe. And I go a little harder through it to make it happen. I'm okay with my form, but she really worked on her balance, her hips, her head movement, although she still lifts her head kind of too much. But getting someone to recognize your technique, especially in swimming, would be something I would tell someone who gets into it new as an adult, that there's no rush. It's technique over speed. The speed will come with technique.
Yep.
Mr. Dusty Spiller, you probably crushed your first triathlon race, but how would you go back and coach yourself?
So my very first race was actually a pretty pleasant experience, with the exception of about the first 2 minutes of the swim. I got completely ran over and I completely freaked out and I wasn't ready for it. I don't think up to that point I had done any training with anyone else, especially in the water. I don't think I had done any swimming with other people around me. So when the gun went off at my first race and I had dozens of people run over top of me, I was like, what the heck am I getting myself into? Eventually I stopped freaking out and treading water while people were running over top of me and continued to swim, found some clean water, and the rest is history as I finished that race. So the only tip I would give myself for that first race way back then would be to just prepare yourself for the swim start. If you're going to seed yourself right at the very front in the swim for a mass start, be prepared to be ran over, and people are going to touch you, people are going to hit you and push you under the water. And if you're not comfortable with that, start off to the side or start at the back.
Ben, this is one of my favorite questions to ask coaches. How would you go back and coach yourself through your first triathlon?
I think it would be, in general, it would be don't put so much pressure on yourself, because, you know, I came into triathlon knowing, like, having a 5-year plan of qualifying for GB. That was my, like, when I even started, I was like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to work through the distances and I'm going to qualify for GB. But that first race, I wish I could have just gone back and tried to enjoy it a bit more, because I'm not the type of person that feels pressure, actually. Like, I don't really get anxiety over competing or anything like that, but I do feel like that first race, I went pretty damn hard, and you know, the swim, this is one of my biggest triathlon regrets, and I didn't tell you this last time. I'm going to tell you this, and if it goes out there, I'm just sorry to the person that this relates to. I am a very competitive person, and I wanted to do well in the swim because I'm not a particularly great swimmer, but you know, I'd been training, and a guy who started just in front of me must have been about mid-70s, early 70s. I still remember his name, but I won't say it just in case he ever watches this. But he'd obviously put down a time that he thought he could swim,
right?
But he obviously couldn't swim that time, and yeah. I remember swimming over him, like literally over him, to the point that he went under the water, and I had to check the results at the end to see if I hadn't killed him. I was like, I'm going to check this guy's results and see if he did survive the swim, because I swam on him because he was just so slow, and I was thinking, well, I can't go round him, the lane's too narrow. Yeah. I'll see you later. And I wish that I had chilled out a bit, because I still regret it now, and we're talking like 8 years ago. But
yeah, totally how it goes.
Dale Sanford, fun question. What kind of coaching advice would you give yourself if you could go back and give yourself advice for your first triathlon?
Actually swim. Yeah, I mean, seriously, the first race I ever did, I think I swam twice in a backyard pool before, and it was a sprint. It was only like a 400-yard swim or 500-yard swim, but I just figured I could fake my way through it. And this was when mass starts were like the norm. So you jump in the water with 500 people, and yeah, I thought I was gonna die. So I would have told myself, make sure you find some open water, swim in the open water. I mean, realistically, learn to sight, get comfortable being next to other people. You know, even swimming in a lane with somebody is better than nothing.
Right, than nothing. Yeah. Yeah.
Just little things like, don't worry about, these are more like, I guess these are more like tips versus like coaching things, but like worry less about the equipment you have, and stop comparing yourself to everyone else around who might have all the gadgets and gizmos, but in the end it's more about you just kind of getting your feet wet in it, and then you can worry about the finer details. But the first one always has to be, there has to be the enjoyment factor, and if you stress yourself out over the dumb things that really don't matter in the long run, then it takes a lot out of the enjoyment part. But swimming's key. Swimming is a key part of it.
It's just, it's not quite, it's one of the shorter events for the three sports, but seriously, I think swimming is one of those spots where can really turn off a lot of athletes from our sport, just the open water aspect of it and how crazy those starts can be. it's one of my like goals is to try and get at least people in my local area like used to open water swimming, try to get over that fear factor and get comfortable in the water, because I'm scared someone's gonna get like hurt or worse, you know, in the water. So
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's a big disadvantage that we for us in the Memphis area, is that we actually don't have open water to swim in within 2 hours or an hour and a half. So people don't get a lot of opportunity to do it. So it is a little bit harder to get new people into the sport because there's nowhere to take them where they feel safe. You know, we did a tri camp last weekend, but we went 2 hours outside of our normal area to get to a lake that we could swim in the open water. And you know, and it's amazing once you're there, but most people are, if you're new to the sport, that's kind of a big ask to go drive 2 hours to go to do some open water.
What lake did you go to?
So where we are going toward, you're kind of going toward Nashville, and then you go north. It's a small town called Huntington, and their community built this. The county, I guess, built this 1,000-acre lake as a tourist thing, and it's beautiful. I mean, wide open. Like, there really wasn't that much boat traffic, and they were so accommodating. And we set up buoys, swim course, everything out in this little part off of a beach, and they let us have full access to everything. And so, you know, we just don't have that around here. So it helped a little bit that we had Kirsten Sass with us, and she's a local. For those that don't know her, she's multi-time national and world champion. So it helps to have her on your team. So
not bad.
But yeah, definitely. Open water. I mean, you got to swim. There's no doubt about it.
You got to swim. Cool. If you could go back and coach yourself for your first race, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh man! So this is going back to like 1998.
98.
So do you want the whole list of things that I shouldn't have done between now and 1998?
Not since then, but like if you were to like, you know, just stand, you know, face to face with yourself, and you're like, hey buddy, you got this race, you're about to start. Like, what's that one thing you're gonna tell them?
I think we should keep this triathlon related, because otherwise I'm going to end up getting myself into hot water. I think probably try and stay at 72 kilos.
Yeah.
Like I was whenever that was. I mean, what are we talking? 1998 it's nearly, it's 21 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I was really skinny, like really skinny. I was 70, just over 70 kilos. And my advice would be to stay at 72 kilos.
Yeah.
And not
said than done.
Go and work. Well, it is when you end up working in a studio that has an account with Domino's. You know, it's easy just to. It was, you know, so.
Do it.
Yeah, the bottom line underneath it all is that it's about being happy and feeling complete and feeling content, I think. And I think a lot of the time, particularly with triathlon over the last 21 years, I think my focus has been in the wrong place, you know. But I think ultimately I'd like to stay at 72 kilos. That would have been good.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Cool. As always, I really want to make sure to thank these coaches for taking the time to come on this channel, and I'll leave links to each and every single one of these coaches down in the description of this video. And each of these coaches have YouTube channels, so be sure to click through and subscribe to each one of their channels. And if you're considering a coach for triathlon, you might want to check out one of these coaches. All right, guys, if you're into this sort of stuff, and that would be swimming, biking, or running, consider subscribing below. There's a little subscribe button down below here somewhere, and there's also a notification bell, and that just allows you to be notified of whenever I post new videos. And I really do appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video, and we will see you guys on the next one.
Be your biggest fan. And when things are really tough and they're really rough and nothing's working, but there's something inside of you that says, I just have to follow that, because you don't know who you're going to